Ready? Okay. Good morning. I'm Chair Lori Zoller. Today is January 2nd, 2024, 9 a.m. And I'd like to welcome you all to the regular session for the Klickitat County Commissioners and call this meeting to order. Let the record show all three commissioners are present, and we'll start with the Pledge of Allegiance. All rise.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. So we'll start with the approval of the business agenda.
Have an add-on if I may.
Okay.
Board appointments, planning commission appointments. Oh, sorry, planning commission appointments.
And I think it's listed on the agenda that we've added that.
That'll work. We covered it. That's fine with me.
Perfect. So do we have a motion?
I would make a motion to approve the business agenda with 2 add-ons, 2024 board and committee assignments under new business and appointments to new board positions under unfinished business.
I will second the motion.
Any discussion? So hearing none, the motion passes. Thank you.
Can we vote?
Oh, sure. All those in favor?
Aye.
Hearing no no's. What do you say? Hearing
Approved.
motion approved. Sorry. Thank you. So do I hear a motion for the approval of the commissioner meeting minutes?
We don't have any for today.
Okay, so there's no meeting minutes. Moving on, we now move to our portion of public comment. As I'm a new chair for 2024, I would like to say that from now on, I expect we all hold each other in the highest regard, keeping our statements to business and professional standards and excluding any personal feelings or opinions. With that, a reminder to the public that comment is limited to 3 minutes. If you are in the room, please come forward to a microphone, or if you're online, please raise your hand to be recognized. If they choose to do so, time will be provided after public comment for individual commissioner comments. Thank you. Is there anyone in the room that has public comment? So
We did, but not to you.
well, I don't know how that works. So online, is there anybody that would like to be recognized? And no new people in the room, so we'll go back to Zoom. Great. Zero, 088, are you unmuted?
Yes, you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah, I was just wondering what, verifiable improvements that the commissioners have made in the county in 2023 that have benefited, either financially or improving the county.
Could you do your name and address for us, please, for the record?
Delmer Eldred, Goldendale.
Thank you. And your question was about improvements and benefits in 2023 accomplished by the commissioners?
Yeah. So what have you done that has been a benefit and financially, and also improving the quality of life, or just what have you done that has made it better in 2023 than it was in 2022?
Okay. So we can add that to our commissioner comment afterward. Do you have any more comment?
No, that's it.
Okay, thank you. Back to the room. Still no comment?
Do you have any gravel?
You have to come forward to the mic. I'm sorry. And back on Zoom. Good morning, Sherry. You still might be muted. There
Okay.
you go.
There- Yeah, it takes a second to click through these buttons. Happy New Year, Klickitat County Commissioners. I'm looking forward to a new year. We've had some discussions. I kind of feel like we're partners in this whole thing, since I feel like I'm a shareholder in the corporation of Klickitat County of. And that my tax dollars that I pay, whether it's through my property or sales tax or licensing or whatever else we do, I feel like I'm an investor, a shareholder in some part, hoping to make this county very successful. And I'm hoping that the corporation wants to do that as well with the people. And so, I guess I guess maybe I got a little confused with the document I found that said that, government is a political subdivision as well as a municipal corporation. So I still am confused how one entity becomes two legal entities, but we've been over that and nobody seems to have an answer for me. But I decided, we need to work within what the system is. And we need to appreciate the system we have, because supposedly that system works for the people. So I'm hoping in this new year that our county corporation can really look at, protecting areas and the people who inhabit those areas. And as you guys know, the history of, I've been very involved with Under Canvas, because it's right here in, where I exit onto the highway, and how I felt like that project located, that corporation putting that huge project in that location was the wrong location. I've always supported having Under Canvas in the gorge. If you're going to bring in people who want to spend $400 to $600 for a tent a night, bring them in, spend your money, help our area. But it was the wrong location. And I'm bringing this up because I'm hoping for new eyes and new leadership, and new looking at really what is good for our area, what is good for our county, how do we become more prosperous, as a county, and not hurt people who already inhabit this area. And again, I want to put it on record that I believe Under Canvas is absolutely deadly. That road cannot sustain hundreds of vehicles. That intersection cannot sustain it. It already has accidents. And, I feel it was a corporate favor. I know we're not supposed to have feelings, but it is a project that is going through. And just in the future, let's really look at things and really consider the environment, the people who inhabit that area, and whether it really is good for the future of Klickitat County. And that also goes through for renewable energies that would like to be sited in our county. So here's to a happy new year. Here, congratulations, Commissioner Zoller, as your chair position. And I look forward to a new administration. Thank you.
And back to the room. No one's still present. And back on Zoom. Do we have anybody else that would like to make a public comment this morning? One more time. Is there anybody else on Zoom that would like to comment this morning to the county commissioners? So we'll close for public comment, and if the commissioners so choose, if you have comment on the comments that were made, please go ahead. Mr. Christopher?
I'll respond to Dale. And I'll just list one, as I have many, but we'll just list one. And that is the prohibition of large scale solar in the Golden Dale and Centerville Valley. And I don't know whether you agree, but I believe that passing that piece of legislation was the single biggest piece of legislation that protects this valley and the citizens within it that's been done in the last decades. So yeah, I would say we might have done something there. And that's all I have. Thank you.
Mr. Anderson?
Thank you, Commissioner Zoller. Other verifiable improvements in the county in 2023, you can go back to I believe it was 2 weeks ago, the end of one of our meetings at the end of the year, and Commissioner Zoller and I went back and forth on many of the things that the BOCC and more importantly, the staff has done over the last year. Many things that we're very proud of. Some of those being the $75 million that we have for Washington State dollars and the 20 million in Oregon to go to the new bridge over the Columbia River. We've also at the airport, we have multi-million-dollar improvements going on at the airport that Commissioner Zoller serves on. We have updated multiple ordinances. We have updated the county code. We've managed the $60 million county budget, making sure that we are not overly deficit spending, and ensured that all of our 250 employees continue to get paid, have benefits. And while we have oversight, it is the staff that primarily do all these amazing things. And and that's just a small list that I could come up off the top of my head, Mr. Eldred. Sherry, there's many different books on government corporations. I would direct you to the American Experiment with Government Corporations. The United States as a corporation goes all the way back to the ending of the Civil War, and there's a bunch of different books that you can find online for free that explain how the corporation of government works. But in terms of us working for the people, I believe that this board is always working for the best interests of all of its constituents. I actually am heartened that this board doesn't always agree, because that creates more discussion, that creates lively discussion. All I hope for is that it is respectful discussion.
Thank you. Yeah, Del, the county, this was my first year. The things that I'm most proud of are that we've worked very hard to become better partners with our departments and our other electeds. And I'm looking forward to 2024 to even making that better, because we have to be a cohesive team. We need to run like a machine. One of the better things that we did, I feel, was gain a lot of financial information this year, and our finance director came up with some new processes and stuff to help us work through the budget. It worked very clean. It made it less painful for the departments to spend time and work on their budgets. And I'm looking forward to implementing everything that the finance team came up with in 2024. Okay, so I'd like to hear a motion for the approval of the consent agenda.
Madam Chairman, we have a consent agenda with 2 items on it, the lowest I think we've ever had. My motion is to approve.
I'll second.
A motion and a second. The motion's approved.
Still need to vote.
Okay, sorry. All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? Hearing none, the motion passes. And a motion for the payroll warrant certification.
We have before us the payroll warrants in the amount of $18,385.58, and the payroll benefit warrants in the amount of $0 for the date ending 12/26 of 2023. And my motion is to approve.
I will second.
And a vote?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, motion approved. Excuse me. So department update, Lori Anderson, Planning Department. Happy New Year, Lori.
Yes.
Here.
Happy New Year. Just kind of an update on a few things. As you know, Planning Commission's working on the critical areas update. We're incorporating the changes from the December 18th meeting on those 9 pages, and then we will be sending out to our Planning Commission members a kind of agenda and stuff for their meeting on the 16th. And going along with that, I know it's on your agenda later in the day for reappointment or appointments of Planning Commission members. And then last Thursday, I talked to Norma Benson. She was here in the office and she has resigned, and I forwarded that information to the commissioner's office. Our request for proposals, it was posted December 21st, and the proposals are due January 26th. And last week, kind of a slow week in the planning department, or customer and people wise, but we got a lot done. We got the SEPA routed for Title 12, the James Dean Aggregate Overlay Zone. We have that out for comment. To then get comments back on the SEPA to then make a determination. The Rumble Lambert conditional use permit with SEPA was routed, and that's in the Trout Lake area. And Snapco Composite Holdings, that short plat with SEPA was routed last week. So quite a good week of getting a lot done. And then we did get another under our pending projects. Last Friday, we did receive an application from Lane and Betsy Smith for an RV park. It's on a proposal north of their previous proposal that was withdrawn. And this one will have direct access off of Highway 141. And then we do have all of our other pending projects and a lot more. And it's an exciting new year. Oh, and with that, our 2024 fees, which was an increase of 3%, are in effect. Okay. So that's a week in the life of the planning department. And certainly if you have any questions, we're here to help and answer and go forth and do good things.
You have been doing good things.
And we do
We
have
appreciate you.
planning commission member Dave Barta here who,
Yeah, he expired.
oh,
X,
okay.
or soon to
Anyway.
be reappointed or something like that.
Yes. Oh, okay. Well, we have Dave Bart and Dave Bust, the popular name. So if you have any planning commission questions, Dave Barta may be able to help address or answer.
What is the Bingen Point shoreline substantial development?
That's with the port. Again, I don't have all the details, but basically they had a substantial development shoreline, substantial development and conditional use permit. And that had all expired. That was kind of some ongoing work there on the Port District property near Bingen. And since that expired, they have to reapply for everything. In the meantime, they had to do a new wetland delineation, and we'll have a new SEPA, and all that will be routed hopefully within the next couple of weeks.
Is that for the whole Bingen Point area or just a
Yes.
certain parcel?
It's, I don't have a map in front of me, but the port property there in the Bingen area, it's kind of, I think there's actually like 2, maybe 3 parcels just due to section lines, but it's that whole area.
Okay, so it's for the whole port though.
Correct.
Okay.
Correct. And I know there's a lot of kind of environmental issues. Again, there's the lake. There's like a pond lake, and then there's like the marina and stuff too. So maybe next week I can get a fuller, better detailed description of what they're doing. And Denise Lee is our shoreline, well, she's an associate planner and she works a lot with the shoreline permit. So she's kind of the lead on this. So
It doesn't include the River Mile 72's property, the old log dump, does it?
I do not believe so.
Okay.
Or I haven't heard of,
I don't think so.
or that hasn't been on the radar
If they
or
get it
in,
together, so
and
that,
what did you call it?
that's
River?
the old log dump. You know,
Okay.
that's that parcel it's privately owned along the river.
Oh, okay.
Just we're looking at stuff for the bridge.
Right. I do not believe that is involved in strictly Port District property. And if it was involved, I'm sure I would have heard
Okay.
logs and River Mile 72, et cetera. So,
I think from my understanding of it, it is kind of a long-standing permit that is expired just for expansion at the port because they face so many water issues there. So they have to keep that current.
and we'll definitely get you more details or come visit us and we'll get that for you as well. So if you have any questions,
I just want to say thank you for the hard work that you always put in here, and not
Oh,
only
thank
here,
you.
but in your 9 million hats you wear around the county. Since Mr. Bart is here, I'll take a moment to thank the planning commission for their hard work because, well, you know, I might have just taken credit for the stopping the solar in the valley. I couldn't have done it without the planning commission. So I appreciate your lead on that. And yeah, thank you, sir.
And you survived polar plunge.
oh, yes.
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 I heard it was very fast.
Well, yes, of course. You
The whole thing.
within 30 seconds. Oh, wait, I do take that back. There was one lady who had some sort of challenge with their family
Oh.
and she stayed in the water 7 minutes.
Oh,
And since the Park and Rec District and the lifeguards and I are in charge, I didn't stay in the water for 7 minutes, but I had to wait there on the shore for everyone to exit the water.
that's great.
So, no, very successful and quite a bit of fun in a cool, refreshing way. We started the new year.
How many years have you been doing that?
That was the 17th.
Okay, quite
So
a time. Yeah.
a lot of fun, a
I
lot
thought
of
about
people.
going and then I came to my senses.
Well, you know, some people plunge, some people watch.
Mhm.
You always need somebody, you know, there's a little
Encourage.
bonfire, you need somebody to hold towels, take pictures, so.
Yeah.
Maybe put it on your calendar for next New Year's. 10 a.m., just don't be late at Mary Hill. Thank you.
Thank you, Lori.
Thank you.
So are there any commissioner reports or comments?
I do have. Steph sent out a proposed workshop schedule for 2024 to everybody's email. Of the dates listed here, the January 18th, February 15th, I actually have two, so I'll throw one over there.
Okay.
January 18th, February 15th, and May 16th, I will be out at a Wasatch Legislative Steering Committee stuff. So I will not be available on those dates. So it's up to the board whether they want to continue to have scheduled workshop on those dates and or direct staff to switch the date. I would also, as I am starting my day at 8 o'clock in the morning those days, it's going to be hard for me to get on the radio. So I don't know whether the board had any interest to ask staff to talk to Julian to see if he can pick a different day for the radio when I would be available, but up to the board.
I have no issue with asking Julian if we want to do it on a different day than Thursday mornings. Wednesdays work
Yeah,
good for me.
Wednesdays are good for me as well.
Yeah.
I think we were talking about seeing if Julian could adjust it to Wednesday because it conflicts with a lot of other Thursday meetings. Is that correct?
No, as he was talking about Wasatch meetings.
Okay.
Twofold. So I can't do the business meet or the workshops because I'm at Wasatch all day. I also can't do the radio because I'm at Wasatch. So you've said, the board has said that direct Julian to see if we can pick a different day for the radio. She's asking if you want a different day for the workshop or do you want to hold the workshops without me?
Schedule workshops on the same day that you have the radio.
Oh, okay. Jake, what do you feel about workshops on Wednesday?
Well, we've always had stuff on Thursdays, so I fill my Wednesdays with all my other meetings.
Well, there's 3 other Thursdays in the month, so.
Right, that's why I was looking at that, saying we could move the dates around to miss, like, rather than, we could do the 25th. Let me try to pull up the email and my calendar at the same time. Could we do January 25th? February. We could do February 8th or 22nd.
Either or is good for me.
The 22nd is better. I've got the County Crisis Collaborative on the 8th.
22nd's better for me.
Which works better?
Yeah, 22nd.
Okay.
And then, May 16th.
April, May. May 23rd would work for me. I've got the OTN meeting that morning, but that only goes till 8 or so.
23rd for you, Dan?
Yep.
So changing to January 22nd or January 25th, February 22nd, and May 23rd.
Yeah, these are just the workshops.
Yes,
Right,
just
right.
the
But
workshops.
for sure you guys want to
Oh,
change.
why don't we do? Can we just do the radio on those days?
Ideally.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then that way it keeps it all on a Thursday. Okay, thank you.
And then I went through the rest of the schedule with all of my calendar and did not have an issue with any of the other dates. Thank you.
Any other reports or comments? Jake, is there anything for you?
Nope, I don't have anything.
Great. So we have 3 minutes for Public Works. Good morning.
Good morning.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Good morning, Jeff.
Good morning.
So this is our updates from our planning excuse me, called you the wrong place. The Public Works Director, Jeff Hunter. And you were without Seth this morning.
Yes, I am. Yes, I am. So you ready?
Yes.
Okay. We had nothing on the consent agenda, because it was the holidays and a lot of people were off. On the construction project side, not a lot of change. They did work a little bit, all the signs on the curb warning signs and guidepost project. All the signs are installed. All the guideposts have been installed except for the ones on the guardrail. And once those are done, that project will be done. They did start the crushing contract. They're clearing in Fisher Hill Quarry right now. And then they'll move to Badger Gulch and clear there. Let's see, on the design side, again, we're catching up now. With stuff, we finished, last time we got all the negotiations for the right of way done on Sundale. We're finishing the plans and specs. And the ball banking, we have to catch up with the consultant, see what they did, if they did anything during the holidays, and everything else is same, back to work. On the maintenance side, this is kind of more of a slack time. We do a lot of brushing, ditching, mowing this time, and that's what we're doing in Goldendale. and on the east side, and that's also the same thing we're doing on the west end, more brushing than ditching, of course. Upcoming facilities projects, nothing changed there, no events. Courthouse water bottle filler has been completed. All the projects from last year are completed. Auditors voting area, the asbestos abatement was completed during the holidays, and the walls were framed up. So we're still moving forward on that. Radio site status passed. The only thing left is they installed the wrong camera. It was very clearly marked in the specifications, so they have to replace the camera at their cost. We are holding their last payment till we get our right camera. Other issues, just to let you know, on the Title 12 standards, SEPA is out for comment. Comment period ends January 18th. I thank Lori for the help there. We've also issued RFPs for the airport phase 2 and for planning help. Those were sent out during the holidays also. The only other thing I wanted to just kind of give everybody it's more of a heads up than anything else. There was a little at Dallasport Community Center on a rental. I think it was the Republican Party was renting it, and somehow or another the key got misplaced from somebody that was supposed to have a key over there from the water district. I'm not going to throw the person under the bus, but they were supposed to open the facility. They didn't. So our person came in and met them at 6 and gave them the key so they could actually get into the facility. I couldn't expect our person to drive over there at 2 minutes to 5 because somebody lost their key. Problem is this though, if they cannot find their key, we're going to have to relock the door, which we will rekey the door. Somebody needs to pay for that. And that's probably, you know, with labor, somebody driving down there, the key, you're probably looking at right around $125, $130.
If we're going to rekey it, would it make more sense to put in a punch number so that we don't have to do this in the future?
It would, we would still need some sort of a pass card though. If we just put a punch number in, we tried that years ago. And then everybody in the community gets a hold of that number, and next thing you know, people are using it for their own events. We could do a punch. We have done like at the Pioneer Center. You have a pass code, but it's individual for each individual person. Is how that's set up. Just depends on the lock system you
Right.
want.
I'm just thinking that there's either Wi-Fi in the building or there's Wi-Fi from the water district across the way that you could probably get, and you could get one that you can change the number and each person gets their own number, and then you can still track when people go in and out and everything. Might be long-term a cheaper option.
We'll take a look at that, definitely. We'll look at that.
Yeah, look at the cost on.
Yeah, we'll look
That's
at the
okay.
cost of
Yeah.
that too. So we'll look at that. A key card type. I have one other thing. My development review inspector is resigning. He gave us plenty of time, February 2nd. While we move positions around, we have a few openings we're not filling right now. That is one position I cannot live without. It's very difficult because if we live without that, then you guys get the calls, because ultimately then I have nobody, you know, that's the person that works with the developers to pass their projects. So he resigned, found different opportunities. I understand that it can be a tough job, but I'd like to refill that position if I could.
Sounds essential. Go ahead.
Well, I would like to say that because of your honesty with this board over the last year and telling us what positions you can live without filling, it helps me trust you and believe in you that when you say this one's vital, that I believe it's vital. So with that, I will give you a yes.
Thank you, sir.
I have one thing. Road report.
Mhm.
Was traveling the opposite direction from my house on Harms Road, which I don't do very often. And up towards the top of the hill, it looks like the ditches are gone and the ditches are washing into the road and taking out the road and going back into the ditch. So they don't look horrible right now, but I'm not a road guy, so I don't know how much road you'll have come spring if you don't.
I
in
appreciate
there.
that. I don't get out very often to look, but I appreciate that. We'll definitely take a look at that. No,
I say maybe nothing may save us a bunch of money fixing a road.
Well,
better. I don't know.
yes.
That's up to you guys.
no, it's much easier to fix it when it's minor than when it becomes major.
Okay, that's all I had.
Thank you, Jack.
Okay, thank you.
Moving forward, new business, 2024 Klickitat County Board of County Commissioners, committees and assignments. We have a list. Would you like to start with boards or committee assignments for the commissioners? I guess,
Guess it's all the same, right?
yeah, I guess it is. And we're looking at just commissioners right now. I was thinking we were looking at other boards, so.
Just for clarification, the Bridge Replacement Advisory Group is no longer active. It's now the Bi-State Bridge Authority. So just an update on that.
So if we want to start with Mr. Anderson's assignments, is there anything on the board? I know you've talked to us about, you've lost the advisory group. It's been closed. Is there anything else on your board that has, on your list that has changes?
Which advisory group?
The bridge
No,
replacement.
it just switched.
It switched to-
I'm also on the Timber Counties Caucus. And then there's the Columbia River Caucus. So there's the Columbia River Policy Advisory Group, which is different than the Wasatch Caucus. And then I haven't, those are all the ones I have that I
Okay,
can think of.
nothing else has changed for you, or do you have any discussion about those assignments, Mr. Christopher? Okay. The one I'd like to discuss on my list is the Klickitat County Regional Transportation Policy Committee. For me, that one, it's not real time consuming, but it is an additional meeting and reading the reports with potential of funding coming towards Klickitat County, possibly out of that committee for roads, state highway situations. For me, it is totally out of my venue of what I work in compared to my other boards with the disability and aging and housing, economic development boards. And I've added the finance committee this year and the landfill gas improvement committee and the law library board of trustees to mine this year. And I was wondering if there was a way that one of you would consider taking on the Regional Transportation Policy Committee. I don't feel that I invested the time that should have been invested in that committee. Any comments on that committee? Are you familiar with it?
I'm not. Is it like underneath Crab or who manages that committee?
You know, I'm not even familiar if it's under CRAB, but the bulk of the people sitting on the committee are from the west side,
So it's just within the county or the west side of the state?
west side of the state.
Oh,
It's a state board for our region,
oh,
and we're kind of out there.
that's the RTC under
Yes.
Matt.
Yes.
Okay.
And it seems to me most of the conversations and a lot of the money because of the roads and how many there are state roads in the bigger counties on the west side is where most everything gets applied. And we have our voice, we have some needs. But we're a small county on the east side.
Board of Directors. Looking at it right now.
Thank you.
Okay, so it should at least on here, it's not the Klickitat County Regional Transportation Policy Committee, it's the Southwest Washington Regional Transportation Council. Unless there's a Transportation Policy Committee too.
No,
Okay, oh, let's get our committees right. Yeah, because it
That
shows
is
that
who I
you're on
hear
the
from.
board, yeah.
mhm. And I think they have appointees from each county is how it functions.
Yes, they have what looks like one commissioner from Skamania County, one from Klickitat. Carly Francis is on there, yeah. Would you be interested, Commissioner Christopher?
I have more boards than everybody else, so I'm good where I'm at.
I would usually do it, but I don't want to get it mixed up because of, so much that I'm doing with the bridge.
Okay.
Um,
I didn't know if it was
because we get,
complimentary with the bridge.
well, we get
or-
the letters of support and everything from these guys, and I'm the chair
you're
of
asking,
the
okay.
bridge, so I didn't want to be doing both.
Okay,
Madam Chair,
yes.
one board that is not listed for me is the Financial Software Steering Committee, which I am on that one, and it's not on there. Granted, some of these, like we're naming, are not committees that sit with the board all the time. But they are boards that we're doing work on. The one thing I would remind the board is before this, group of committees got lopsided, the Columbia Regional Gorge Airport Board was under Commissioner Anderson, and when you took on that one, you didn't give one up. So that's the reason why you have the number you have, so thought I would remind.
And I can see Mr. Anderson's point. I didn't know how that Transportation Policy Committee worked with the bridge replacement groups that Mr. Anderson's on, and I can understand that being very close to a conflict of interest. For me, it's just a meeting. I think they understand being small and being on the east side that we will not be heavily involved or daily involved. And it's one that I can keep track of and bring the issues to the Board of County Commissioners for advice if I need it. So I can keep that on my list. And counting the boards, that still gives me 11, which I'm fine with. Some of mine don't meet every month. They meet more quarterly. So I would,
Yeah, and it's, I
If
can
it's-
tell you from my experience, the landfill gas board last year met once, and that's only because I wanted it to. It took all of about a half an hour. In the library board that the chairman sits on, we did not meet once the entire year, so.
okay.
We didn't either when I was chair.
Okay. So I'm comfortable with keeping that, and I'll try to be a better participant and report back to the commissioners.
Because
on
they
that
have a
board.
meeting once a month, right?
Yes, and it's on Zoom, which makes it easy. Just making sure that I get it on my calendar and don't have a conflict. So Mr. Christopher, I don't know if there's any questions from either of you about my boards. Any comments or questions or changes that you see? Okay. And Mr. Christopher. It's funny being three commissioners and all the different boards. There's so many of them. We're looking at over 30 boards that we all between us divide up and sit on. Some I recognize, others I haven't heard much about. So I would like to ask, even with myself, that we be better at under our agendas, that we bring in reports and updates about the boards. That would help me understand the boards as we move forward. And then if we shift or have to change, I know how they function and know what they're doing. Because there's a lot of good work that the public never hears about. And a lot of these boards help us either spend money prudently or bring money in. So they're a good.
Do you have any questions on the boards that I sit on to want to know what they are and what we do?
I had always seen that WASAC trades out because it is a board that takes a different look in Olympia, representing our board and representing different interests. It helps with a different view at WASAC. So I have a question about Mr. Christopher continuing on the Legislative Steering Committee. I know when I came on board, I was very interested in legislative steering. So that would be one that I would like to have a discussion about. I don't know, Mr. Anderson, you've been here longer than I have, so you've seen how legislative steering functions. I appreciate our lobbyists that comes back to us with information on legislative things and how that coordinates with the Association of Counties. And I appreciate that relationship. It really helps you build other relationships with those county commissioners. So it's a very important experience to be on that board. And I know being chair, I would have a problem probably this year picking up ledge steering and trading out. But making that change, it would be my suggestion for this year that I'd like to see Mr. Anderson go to ledge steering. I know it coordinates a lot with a lot of the work that he does on the bridge and funding rules, regulations. Go ahead.
Lead steering has absolutely nothing to do with the bridge. You can't push your county issues while you're at lead steering.
But what it does do is give you time in Olympia so you can visit offices. And so you're doubling down that way for me. It gives you travel time and you're able to talk about your other boards. I know when I've went to Olympia, I haven't made it just a one deal thing. I take my time and make appointments to visit with legislators and go to their office and see them when I'm there. I don't know, Mr. Anderson.
So is your recommendation that the ledge steering switch out each year between, going through the board, but having not the chair be on ledge steering? Is that what you're thinking?
That would make sense, unless, like Commissioner Sauter eventually was very, very good at being a statesman, very good working with the legislators, and he became on the board, did he not?
He was on the WASAC Board of Directors.
Correct.
And then he was also on NACO. He went back
Correct.
for NACO stuff too.
And to take on both of those, that was a pretty hefty, I was impressed with him handling both state and federal. I think if there's a situation where you come to a year where you're on a board that keeps them consistent, it wouldn't be prudent to change out. But if we can change out ledge steering to give interaction to other commissioners from our county, it's my idea that it's a good idea to have that trade out.
Your thoughts? Mr. Christopher?
Well, as sitting on that board for the last 2 years, I don't know of any other county that trades out on that board because continuity is important. Knowing the players and how it works cohesively as the group that's there is important. It is a huge learning curve. And if you're changing out every year, essentially what you're doing is you're creating a freshman every year. You will never have seniority. And your issues will not be heard, your county issues will not be heard as powerfully as they will when you have continuity. So
Okay.
I don't know that I go with the argument that it would benefit the county. But if this board sees fit, that wants to remove me from the board and place somebody else on it, it can so do so.
Does that board have seniority, like you move up in ranks, or is it just have the
No,
chair,
it's
vice chair?
just to get on to the advisory boards and policy staff. There is definitely a separation between let's say ranks as in freshman, sophomore, junior, senior. And to move up in the WashSAC chain like Commissioner Sauter did to become a chair of that board, you're not going to do that as a freshman or an alternating member. So it is about relationships, but yeah, I'll leave it at that.
Well, and I don't think I've ever seen it where they do assign yours kind of pecking order freshman. And you can also be a part of WASAC without ever being on the ledge steering committee. You can join committees and work your way through the ranks, so to speak, or gain that knowledge and have that vote on those committees, as well as actually being appointed on that legislative steering committee. So I guess I think the proper process is for me to step down and make a motion. Is that where I go now?
What are you doing?
I would like to step down as chair and make a motion, if that's proper process, Mr. Christopher, that we do a change to the legislative steering committee, and that I would ask that Mr. Anderson consider being our appointee to ledge steering committee this year. And I would have to have a second.
I'll second that for discussion.
Okay, so
Now we're in discussion.
motion was seconded, so I open discussion.
I don't have any.
No discussion?
No, Commissioner Christopher mentioned that I don't have as many committees as anyone else. Since I was removed from the airport board. And so I've been sitting here trying to go through how many committees I have and whether or not they're considered, committees, because I'm serve on the Timber Caucus and I serve on the Water Caucus at WASAC. I know when I started as commissioner, Commissioner Sauter was the for the first year, right? When we were, Commissioner Sauter was on WASAC ledge steering the first year.
Daughter was on WASAC every year. He was
So you've only done it 1 year?
last year.
Oh, I thought you did it for the 2 years.
Oh, last year and this year.
No, it was open last year.
It was always the way that WASAC was set up was anybody that wanted to sit on it turned in their application to WASAC, and WASAC chose who from the county sat on the board. This year at the board of directors meeting, they changed it that the county, and I don't know whether it goes into effect this year or next year, but they did change it going forward that the county chooses its delegate, which I was the sole no vote on because I think that affects counties like Snohomish County. That is a 5-commissioner board and it's lopsided 3-2, and the 2 is actually the side that represents WASAC on lead steering. And if you make it a vote, then you may lose a few seats. So, but that was one of the votes that was at Wasack.
Well, how did Wasack make the decision then? When you would turn in the applications, who at Wasack would make the decision?
Their board of directors.
And it was my understanding last year when I talked to them as I took this position that county commissioners do assign that seat and the board does approve them. And
I know they had an application process last November where you can turn in your application to sit on Wednesday, which I did.
but then all that also, I believe, has to come back through your county for approval from them. They'll accept applications, but then
And
they want to be
yes,
friendly with
You
the county.
can, feel free, yep,
Mhm.
you can change that.
It sounds like we need a little bit more information because we don't know exactly how that process works. So I
The
would,
lead steering starts Thursday, so if somebody's taking it from me, they need to book hotel rooms. And,
well, I think it wouldn't take very long to put in a call to Wasack to see that process.
I can send them an email this afternoon, come back this afternoon with that answer.
Well, I
Would
would,
you like to put it on the agenda?
we don't have much else to do today, so I would just not adjourn,
Okay,
but I would give them a call.
I guess for
Okay.
the sake of discussion, it sounds like the chair is trying to nominate you to sit on lead steering this year, and so I would like to hear your opinion on whether you want to sit on lead steering this year. Since that would be the most pertinent question I would think we would have here.
Well, that's what I'm doing. I'm thinking about it because, I definitely have enough to do with the bridge. I hear where Commissioner Zoller is saying it would be good for me to be up there. And that would be a good reason to go up, that we're only paying one time. And then I could, continue trying to get the other 50 million for the bridge when I'm not doing the Wasack stuff. So that's good for the county. I said when I took this office, I wanted to spend most of my, my first few years looking locally and not working on the state side of it. But again, this is gonna be year number 4. So I would be willing to switch off for a year, maybe my last year, and do it. But I also don't wanna hurt somebody else's feelings at the same, in the same respect.
so would you like me to reach out for more information? And we bring this back to the board
I
on
mean,
that appointment
think
process?
we just need to put in a phone call or,
Yeah,
recess the meeting and get some answers real quick, cause yeah, we're
Okay.
definitely down there. It starts Thursday.
okay. So I would call for, do I need a motion to recess?
Do you wanna do that right now, or do you wanna talk about the other, ones? We have the new business too,
Okay,
or unfinished business.
we could do unfinished business first and then take a break. It's closer to lunch, take a break and come back in. So we'll move to unfinished business, appointments for new positions for Klickitat County boards and committees. Mr. Christopher, you were working on something.
I do. I have, following our appointment protocol,
Okay.
unless we want to change that. It says the commissioner in that district will bring forth 2 applications and make a recommendation. I have since brought forth 2 applications to the planning commission. And my recommendation is Matt Childs.
And we also, I think we also have other applications on file. Is that correct? I think they're on your share drive.
There.
Yeah.
I am aware that there are others on there, and the other has served with grace and dignity. And I have no issues with that person, but I do believe in term limits. And since that I am following Klickitat County policy for appointments, I have brought forth 2 applications in accordance with that policy.
Are you ready for discussion, Jake?
Sure.
I served on planning commission for over 10 years and we, continuity was very important to us. And locals from diverse sections having education and background that could assist with planning commission items was important. So I really appreciate those who've served for a long time on that board, including the current chairperson. What I can say is we're in a very big flux time in Klickitat County. We have a lot going on and we have to keep people in place with knowledge and education of what they're working on. Mr. Childs, who has applied, also serves on Board of Equalization, I believe, and
Board of Adjustment.
Board of Adjustment, and is our representative to FSAC, which is a crucial appointment. I was thankful that we appointed Mr. Childs to FSAC, and the job he's done. He's done an amazing job with a very complicated, hard subject, in kind of a testy, tenuous board. And he speaks up, he holds the line for Klickitat County, he's concise, and I appreciate what he does there. We have applications pending there as well as what's happening with our own county. So I'm reluctant to appoint Mr. Childs to Planning Commission. He'd be a great asset there because he does have a planning background from what I understand. But I just want to keep Klickitat County going into 2024 without changing things up. I think it's important to keep continuity, keep us moving forward. And I would like to keep Mr. Spalding in place for that reason as well. He's in the middle of committing to the critical area ordinance as well as a couple other issues, the new solar update that they're working on. He's educated in that subject. He's moving forward in that subject with that board. They've been able to come to consensus on where they're going. And they're doing a great job under the assistance of Lori and her staff, without the consultant and without a full-on planner in the room with them. They're doing a great job. So to make a switch now in Planning Commission, I don't see it a prudent move.
Well, if I can respond to that before we move on. If this board so chooses to, I guess I'll use the word usurp, my ability to make an appointment to a district that represents my district, and they want to put their own person in violation of Klickitat County policy, I guess it could. I find it unorthodox. Mr. Childs wanted to be on Planning Commission from day one. I begged him to be on the Board of Adjustments while waiting until this position came available with the promise that I would bring his name forward at this time. That was 4 years ago. I am doing that and I find it disheartening that after all the hard work Mr. Childs has done to get onto the board that he wants to be on, and the time he spent volunteering for this county and showing his worth, that you would keep him essentially demoted from where he wants to be. So for many avenues there, again, I have no problem with Mr. Spalding other than the fact that I believe in term limits, and I believe that there are many great people that could sit on that board. And just because you have for 26 years doesn't mean you should continue for the next 26. And with that, it is a board that serves my district. The rules put forward on appointments to boards strictly state the chairman of that district will bring forth 2 names and make a recommendation. And that is exactly what I did in accordance with the rules. So that's all I have this time.
Mr. Anderson, do you have a comment?
I'm doing a little bit of research here. Matt has served on multiple advisory groups at the same time. He has also served on the Title 12 road standards, and I can't say enough kind things about Mr. Childs. My concern is that he is our representative to FSEC. And I want to make sure and know for certain that if we appoint him to the planning commission, that is going to create no issues with FSEC and the county and that process, because I would hate to railroad our citizens' voice on FSEC. So that's, I'm looking into that, trying to right now. And I'm also going through the advisory group handbook right now to ensure that that was actually written in there, that was the policy.
I would also add that I did not bring up Board of Adjustments or FSEC board because we currently don't have any available openings on those boards. If Matt Childs was placed on Planning Commission, like the District 3 Commissioner is recommending to serve District 3, then I would obviously have an opening on the Board of Adjustment, of which I would also then again follow this county's policy and bring forward 2 names to sit on the Board of Adjustments. Now, whether this board wanted Matt Childs to continue sitting on the FSEC board or picking somebody else to sit on the FSEC board, that's this board's decision. But none of that should we punish the gentleman's hard work and force him to stay on the FSEC board and miss the opportunity that he's looking for on the planning commission because it suits our interest more.
And I'm not, I'm going to take exception on a couple of the statements. Because you were able to bring forward 2 applications when the process opened up, nobody's usurping anything that you have the ability to do. We're taking those under consideration. And as far as your district being representative, Mr. Joby's in your district and also Matt Spalding are in your district. So the open position with the suggestion from your district would just be a trade out. I just want to make it very plain that we're in some really tough subjects right now. And Mr. Childs has done an over-the-top job at FSEC, being thrown into that fire. In my mind, he's irreplaceable at FSEC. Other boards, yes, we can switch, we can bring people in, they can learn, but you aren't just changing up for 1 board, you'd be changing up for 3 boards, and we'd have to find 2 new people to take those positions. Right now, the season we're in, I don't believe we're disregarding Mr. Childs at all. We're honoring him for the work he has done. Commission positions come open all the time. And I think there will be a chance in the future as we move through the FSEC processes. And I do think FSEC will take things under consideration or moving forward with their own processes. So it won't be quite as crucial as where we're at right now if we have a change at the helm from Klickitat County to FSEC. Do you have any comments?
I still want to, my big thing is before I would ever vote for Mr. Childs is making sure that doesn't create an issue with FSEC. So if we were to appoint Childs, I would need to do that. Appointment by an interview, appointment by application review.
Well, I would remind the board that currently we do not have Matt Spalding sitting on the planning commission because he has not been appointed to the planning commission. So we have a meeting next week of the planning commission, of which he is not a planning commissioner. So this board needs to appoint somebody by next week. With that, I would make a motion that we accept Matt Childs' application and appoint him to the planning commission.
And I would have to have a second.
I've already said I wasn't gonna vote until I figure out what the FSEC issue is, because I don't want to create a can of worms. No reappointments will be period residents.
And as I stated, I just don't see it, how it's possible to replace him. It was hard to find Mr. Childs. And it was my recollection that he was in District 2 when we appointed him to the FSEC board. That the FSEC is under the solar, and I am the advisory commissioner for the solar issues, as the largest portion of controversy was in District 2 at the time. So we searched out someone from District 2 to represent us at APSEC. And
Who's
that's
we?
how we landed at,
Who-
when we had
who's
discussions,
we?
when we had discussions
This
about,
board? We?
yes,
Oh, Matt Child has always been in District 3. He lives like 100 yards away from me.
I know where he lives.
So yeah, no, he's always been in District 3.
So in the essence of time, do we table?
I'm still reading our commission policy. I'm double checking. What? Who's the third for District 3?
Mark Joby,
Mark Joby,
Matt Spalding.
Al Spalding, and who's the third?
There is not a third. There are two representatives from District 3.
Can I add?
Yes.
Mr. Riley,
Oh, thank you.
Tony Riley.
Is Matt Riley or Tony in 2 or 3?
I'm speaking for my
Yeah, he's in District
appointments.
3.
I recommended Mr. Joby. I recommended Mr. Riley. And now I'm recommending Mr. Childs. And Mr. Riley was also a carryover from the previous administration that I reappointed a year ago, following the procedure that I brought forth today.
And I know during that time when we talked about those, it was important that we had definite representation from each district. And I think I'm not sure of the Mr. Barta, I'm looking at you. I'm not sure of the mixture of that group. Are there 3 appointees from each district? Thank you. We're going to put you on the spot.
I can't speak really with authority on it. I thought Tony Riley was in District 2, but I defer to Commissioner Christopher. He may know the answer to that. District 1, I believe, is Zach Landgren, Rick Graves,
And
and Norma.
Mhm.
So that means 2 must be Jay McLaughlin, Kelly Johnson has to be,
Mhm,
and me.
mhm.
And then District 3 is Matt Spalding, Mark Joby, and I'm drawing a blank, but give me a
Tony
minute.
Riley.
Tony Riley would
Yeah.
have to be 3 then. That's interesting.
Yeah.
I'm just not picturing the map the right way, but that's okay.
Yeah, those lines
Yep.
are
you're right.
odd in some places.
thank you.
Langwin, representing District 1, District 2, or another District 1 is vacant, another District 1 is Rick Graves. 2 is Kelly Johnson, Jay McLaughlin, and Dave Barta. 3 is Mark Joby, Matt Spalding, Tony Riley, and their expiration dates as posted.
Their next meeting is next Tuesday, right? And I thought,
Mr. Barta.
huh?
Or the 13th, I believe.
Third Monday, right?
Well, it's after the Martin Luther King
Holiday,
holiday, I believe.
so the 20th,
I was trying to get that date.
or no, wait, that's my. Martin Luther King is the 15th,
Is it the 18th at your meeting?
because you guys usually meet on
Oh,
Mondays.
sorry, January 16th, according to the planning update we got this morning.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, so you're meeting next 2 Tuesdays from today. Because I thought when we went out for advertisement and we opened everything up, we were gonna start talking about our applications on the 2nd Tuesday of the month.
Oh. Is that something that was decided? Okay,
That's.
and
what's
since
it-
we have time,
We've got next week.
right,
So we can
Bring it
find
back.
out about FSEC,
Okay,
and if that creates any issues. And then we can go through all of the applications.
so bringing it back next Tuesday?
Well, I don't want to be going through all the different applications today. If we had said we'll talk about it next Tuesday, because there
Okay.
could be more applications that come in by next week.
Okay.
It seems like that's, subverting the whole purpose of that
Okay,
advisory.
With that, can I ask if the commissioner for District 1 or the commissioner of District 2 has reached out and put it on those communities' Facebook pages, or was it only advertised in the Goldendale area on the Goldendale Sentinel?
however, we directed staff to advertise.
Well, I was
No.
asking the commissioners if they really wanted to get the public to know there's open appointments, they would need to post it where the public reads it. In outside of Goldendale, there's not a lot of people that get the Goldendale Sentinel, so I don't know that a lot of people in Trout Lake, White Salmon, Housam, Bingen, Lyle, Dallasport even know there's currently openings going on or this discussion being had. As since we've advertised it, we've only gotten one application and it was from somebody in Goldendale.
And that's what you're going to find with board appointments, unfortunately. And I do know, I've heard conversations because people have asked me about board appointments and they've been directed to the website.
Just to confirm, the auditor, Tony Riley, is a District 3 voter.
Thank you.
I would hope so, since he lives on the other side of 97.
Mhm. So we will choose to continue this next week when all the
That's what we
applications
were
are in.
working
And today was the first day that I'd heard about District 1 having an opening, Jake, so you may want to
Yep.
reach out.
Well, doesn't give a whole lot of time, but definitely gonna reach out.
How are we reaching out? Are we gonna advertise that one, or are we gonna make a few phone calls to people that we want to serve on?
Okay. In the planning. Right.
This board could probably advise planning department to post it on the various community websites if it wanted to go that far.
Oh, my idea was actually to contact all the community councils,
Mhm.
because those are the people that are usually involved with the actual, like for planning, that are involved in planning. Those are the members that have went through zone updates or the attempted to do updated zoning. And I'm a firm believer in the community councils. So that's the direction I was gonna go, because we just found out about District 1. But I would also echo what Commissioner Zoller said. Continuity is very important, and actual long-term knowledge is very important. We have had a brain drain in this county over the last 2 years from directors that are resigning, from people that are, just retiring out, and people spend 20 years learning something, and then to be like, oh, have a nice day, and the amount of lost knowledge that's happening right now, I'm very cognizant of, and I take that very seriously.
And going forward in 2024, I'd like to caution that we are careful, very careful about changes. I saw so many things in 2023 where we proposed changes and it costs a burden to staff, it costs time, and it costs money. Every time we're assigning staff that we have a new idea and we're going to change things up, we need to seriously think about the consequences before we move forward with a decision like that. And I feel like these board appointments this year are crucial because of the season we're in with the state and federal government and the things coming down on Klickitat County and also our budgets, that we need to watch every decision we make very, very carefully. So I guess we'll move that.
Table the discussion till next week.
Yes, we will. Do I need a motion to table a discussion? I'm not familiar with that one. Okay, so I would like to make I'd like to hear a motion to table. Sorry.
I'm not sure if we need, might as well do it. Madam Chair, I would make a motion to table the discussion for filling all of the vacant positions until next week. And we didn't say a date in that advertisement of Friday that the applications need to be on to be given out, did we? No, okay. Yeah, I'll just table the discussion till next week.
And do I hear a second?
You can step down in a second if you would.
So I will step down in second. Discussion. Hearing none, motion passes to table the.
You guys still need to take a
Oh.
vote.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All those opposed?
Nay.
Motion passes. So we will set aside the decisions on boards and appointments till next Tuesday. If staff can get it on our agenda. Thank you. So unfinished business. I think we've moved through that under appointments and new positions. Any miscellaneous reports or comments? And hearing none, we have no executive session for today.
What day is gonna be the executive sessions with the, is it the second Tuesday? Second Tuesdays, okay.
What is this?
The prosecuting attorney will do executive session. I'm going to do an update on the second Tuesdays.
One second. Okay. Oh, any other business?
Still waiting to find out whether I'm going to Wasack on Thursday or not.
Yeah, we would recess to make a phone call.
So do we need a motion to recess? Or do we just call?
It's 10:22. How long do you think? Are you gonna make that phone call?
Yes, I have several sources, so I could probably reach one of them
Okay.
fairly
what do you-
quickly. 11
well, to
o'clock?
give- It's, sure,
Or 11.
we got nothing else. Yeah.
Okay.
Madam Chairman, I would make a motion to recess the meeting until 11 a.m.
I would second.
Motion and a second. Any discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor?
Aye.
Those opposed? Motion passes. We will see you back here at 11 o'clock. Good morning. It's 11 o'clock and we're calling our meeting back to order. Back in session, we took a brief break to seek out some consultation about WASAC and how it functions for our appointee to the board. We ended with a motion and a second. And having reached out, I can continue the discussion and say that through legal counsel at WASAC, they actually have a process that the county commissioners choose their appointee to WASAC, and there is no application process any longer at WASAC. The WASAC board leaves that to the counties themselves to pick their representation. And they don't even have a review process any longer either. So that point was confirmed. So having a motion and a second, is there further discussion?
I'd say, I wasn't expecting this. I looked at the schedule, and I checked with my family, cause I've got Jax and being gone and, my mom's able to take care of him. And with this recently report released on the clean energy development tax challenges, I think this is a really good time to focus on that this year. And I'd be honored to actually do it and go up there. It's a short session, so it's only 60 days. So I don't know we're not probably gonna be successful, but at least we can continue to push it. I would be willing to sit on the legislative steering for a year.
And I think that was our last question and to answer. So motion and a second discussion, and all those in favor?
So is your, can you
have-
clarify the motion?
My motion is that Mr. Anderson represent Klickitat County as their appointee to the Legislative Steering Board for WASAC for 2024. And Mr. Anderson did second. I believe we're at the end of discussion, and so I'm calling for those in favor.
Aye.
And aye. Those opposed?
Okay,
So motion passes. I forgot how to close now. I'm not that motion. So the motion carries.
I would ask that someone reach out to Wasac and have me removed from the email list. So I no longer receive all the documents.
You don't want them?
They can be passed on through the chain like they should be, like I did for you guys.
And I think staff will have to send a letter of appointment. So we could ask that in that letter. So with that, I don't think there's anything else on our agenda for the day.
It's still early. I guess it's 11 o'clock.
Yeah, it was a short day.
Do we want to talk about things that we want to accomplish this year? Things we want to work on? I know we briefly discussed it last week, but the year's gonna go by pretty quick.
I would appreciate it. And I know we had talked at one time about our top 5 priorities for the planning department as we're moving forward. They have a lot on their plate. Some is daily business and other is crucial. That once we have our new planning director in place, I think it'd be helpful to have a concise list of things to talk with him about. So where would you like to start?
Well, I figure it'll be March before somebody starts in the department. So you figure they need to be brought up to speed. I mean, I don't know if we can have them working on like big things for first 3 months. What do you think?
I think it's, first of all, it's going to be the
Don't
determination.
scare me someone away.
Yeah, I know. Determination of what time, what's allowable during his time from his former position to this position, what he's going to be allowed to do. How much time can he dedicate as he transitions? So that's the first thing we probably need to hear from him. And then I think listing our top 5 priorities when he first visits with us, and they'll probably be the most crucial, hardest things to get through, the more technical issues. He's going to have to take time with his own staff and his own office to get his office in order upstairs. So we don't want to overwhelm him or overload him with just day-to-day things that he could work on later. But I want to make sure we don't forget what's hanging out there that we haven't accomplished. The critical area ordinance, working with planning commission to get through things that we've assigned to planning commission. I think they have the solar update on their plate, the critical area ordinance on their plate. What else is a crucial piece of work that
What solar update does the planning commission have on their plate?
aren't they going to be working through the moratorium and redefining, at some point redefining what that means, looking at sensitive siting and
They have not been tasked with that, to my knowledge, unless this board did it on some meeting I wasn't involved in.
okay. I think that was the intent. where that
It
going.
was discussion, I know, a few weeks ago
Mhm.
that we had, that it was, we've changed the zoning so that anything that's gonna go through FSEC has, they're gonna have to fight that issue of it, so it won't be considered, you know, in the zone, but that still just means with the swick of a pen that the governor can say, well, we don't care if it's in your zoning or not, or if it's allowed or not. And so the idea is, well, then if they can do that, we still need standards, which setbacks and everything like that. So that then they would have to fight every one of those things if they were to move forward. Because even though it's not allowed, you can still have best management practices, setbacks, solar storage or battery storage, all sorts of different, rules and regulations that would add to that, that then FSEC would have to go and disagree with every one of those local or, things. And we talked about that. And
Mhm.
this is the discussion we're having right now. What is our goals for the year? Is that a goal for you guys?
Well, I would agree that that's something that, this board may want to take up and give to the planning commission. I was just questioning the statement that they already have it on their plate because they don't.
It was in my mind that it's on their plate. It's coming. And then we have the balance of how much do we give them, how many things do we give them to work on before they get through it? And that also then applies to the planning director because he has to assist them through whatever projects we assign.
Right, but I would also add that I would hope the first project the planning director has is to get through the backlog of permits currently on the county docket before we add new projects to his role. But I would also caution this board of if it does so choose to have the planning commission look at setbacks and whatever, because currently they are prohibited outright. So any exceptions you make to prohibited outright creates a loophole for FSEC to jump through. So when you're working on solar issues, whether that's taxing or whatnot, it's a very slippery slope of who's working on said issue.
So solar is prohibited over a certain townships, but it's not prohibited throughout the county.
Correct.
And so you can set standards for solar development.
Outside of that area?
You just set your standards for solar development,
Mhm.
right? And then the zoning is different. So, right? So you have areas where you can do something, but if you have a standard for any solar project or anything in the county, any company still has to abide by those. And so once they go to FSEC through that process, they would say, no, there's going to be no determination of land use consistency, which means you have to go through the adjudication process. And then they still have to go through all of our code. And then if there are things, then they would have to either agree to those setbacks or whatever, or they would have to give reasons and rationale why through the adjudication process. Whether
That's
Backing,
one interpretation. The other interpretation is that if you make underlining stipulations, whether that's setbacks or whatnot, which I don't know how you can do for a piece of property in Bickleton and have the same setback standard for over here. That doesn't jive. But I would also, again, want to warn that you could be creating a loophole for FSEC to jump through. So I would recommend that this board thinks very carefully on making any standards that apply to the area that currently has a prohibition, because it might weaken your prohibition. So fair warning.
Well, I think at the time, we would definitely ask legal counsel those questions. But I mean, I'm sure we see it differently and I don't see it as weakening or creating loopholes. I see it adding, extra layers of bureaucracy, which is usually makes things more difficult for people. And from what I remember seeing in the comments, that's what people were looking for is, standards. But that was also the discussion on the east end versus the west end. We have standards for wind turbines throughout the county. And it's all about public health, safety and welfare. And for me, the public health, safety and welfare on these battery storage projects is utmost in my mind. And I would like to see some standards.
I would remind the board that in the past, I've made a motion for a prohibition on battery storage in the county and the board did not accept the motion. So, I mean, if the board was looking at more, battery storage and is a separate animal than solar, and I would hope that we would take them separately. Because you can have battery storage with all sorts of things and or by itself, stand alone. You can have a 1,000-acre parcel that they just cut off a 20-acre piece, and the 20-acre piece is a standalone company, battery storage LLC, that's not affiliated with the solar project right next door. So I would recommend that if you're trying to chew on battery storage, you take it as a separate entity versus connected to windmills, solar farms, pump storage, or anything else.
Right, and for me, battery storage is a new subject, that was something that kind of was exposed and came along after the fact. First, we were just talking solar and transmission lines, and now everybody's talking battery storage. I think they've realized generating power, they've got to have somewhere to put it. They were generating too much to transmit. So across the United States, they're having problems with storage. So it is something we have to address. But in the moratorium, I do think people expect us to do our due diligence and back up and do the good work that Klickitat County missed in the beginning of this when solar started. We went as is and did not redefine the difference between solar and wind and the impacts that it has. And I think there's a lot of work to do there that we missed in the past, and we need to clean it up.
Are you recommended doing so on a standalone document or reopening the EOZ for update? What is your recommendation for that?
My recommendation is put it back through the planning commission where I thought it always should have been, and let them take a look at the impacts of solar and then hear from them on good advice after they do their workshops of what they feel that needs to happen for our county. I trust that board. And it gives us a deeper look than we don't all have time to delve into it like a 9-person board can look at through workshops. They can do a lot of work for us and give us good advice. But, moving through the critical area ordinance and whatever else is out there for them right now is enough on their plate right now. But we need to be looking at it on the horizon right away and helping that planning director plan out how are we going to use planning commission and how can they assist him and us. And that's where this conversation kind of started, was what are we going to have as a list for our planning director when he comes in?
My thing would be, I'm looking at the next 2 to 3 months for the planning commission and workshops for the CAO. And then that'll go through the appeals process and everything else, but it's outside of them.
Yeah.
They put it forward to us. We start through that process, which it'll take the weight off the planning commission, but the planning department will still have weight on it because, appeals and everything else that we know will be there. From there, I would like to see the solar ordinance discussion, and I see it as a standalone ordinance. And you could say solar battery ordinance, whatever. Because it can be done, as we've seen, outside of the EOZ area. You can put solar anywhere. And from what I'm seeing on the west side, and what's going on in Olympia right now, it's the community solar stuff that's 5 megawatts or, so you're looking at still 40, 50 acres and it's community solar, and people from the west side can buy shares in it. And then you can feel like you're doing well. And it's legislation that's moving through that has a lot of sponsors. And so I think we need to look at that. Because you'll see more of that, and we're apt for that for the west side PUDs to start doing those things. So I would see that taking 3 months. And then as you get into like month 6, I would hope that the planning director has their footing underneath them and we start talking about, or we start the plan for a comp plan update, which is your goals and policies and everything like that. And that's gonna be a 6-month process by your workshops and going out and meeting with the community councils and everything else. And that's just, remember, that's the language, that's goals and policies in the comp plan. That's not the actual underlying zoning and zoning designations, because then I see that taking another 2 years, but who knows who will be here. You'll be here.
Maybe. And talking about that comp plan, one of the things that I talked to Department of Commerce about was the idea that we needed to get the critical area ordinance up to date. And along with that, they were asking for our natural resource inventory update. So that might be something that we can take separately before we jump into the whole comp plan.
Is that required on partially planning counties?
Yes, they said that's what we were out of compliance on, were those 2 items I specifically asked.
Commerce.
And that was before,
Rural
they had a change in our representative, and he'd been working along with us and was familiar with our county, what we had to have. So it isn't,
You mean natural resource lands?
yes, there was a natural resource plan that we have not updated, and it was out of compliance, just like the critical area ordinance. Those were the 2 items that were most important, they said.
I guess my worry with a comp plan update is it a thorough comp plan update, or did we rush it to get a comp plan update? And how do we update a comp plan if we don't have data or adequate policy on where our groundwater is, where our housing is? We're obviously going to have an influx of housing here shortly, and I think that needs addressed before we get into a comp plan. But
Because we're non-GMA planning, what would you think of the idea of having our representative come in and meet us from Commerce and sit down with us and say, here's the parts and pieces that would bring you up to speed, and then we could think about what does a comp plan review look like for us? I think they would have suggestions because of assistance and funding and everything it's going to take us to do that comp plan. We may not have to jump in so deep as far as you're thinking, Jake. And we may be able to redesign it a little bit so it wasn't as painful, hopefully, as last time. That was a lot of work and very painful last time, the comp plan.
You mean the first time?
Yeah. Just to, maybe there's a different way that we can address bites of the work we need to do rather than just full-blown jumping into it.
So I think it's pretty easy on agricultural resource lands, forest resource lands, mineral resource lands. Our current comp plan has all that included in it. Wetlands, we've got the SMP and the CAO, critical, the only things that were really, and then with the frequently flooded areas, that is updated. We did that. They're going through it. FEMA has really great documents that we need to adopt when they finally finalize this thing. And then geologically hazardous areas, I see that as easy way because the whole county has been LIDAR'd. And then the fish and wildlife habitat conservation areas is pretty much any fish bearing stream, which we've already got all that. I don't see that as being too difficult for the natural resources update. But again, though, I mean, when you look at the plan, it's talking about what your goals are, what you want to see, so that then you can revert back to it when you start the next process of Where's growth happening? How's growth changed? We've done the buildable lands inventory. We've done a lot of these documents. We've got the best groundwater knowledge in our county for wells as any area in the state. So we've actually have all those documents and
Mhm.
reports and reports and reports and reports. It's all there. You just, hopefully we have a natural resources person who can work with the planning director so that they can, have best available science backing those policies. But again, those policies are different. I see it getting far more difficult, like what Commissioner Christopher was kind of talking about, when we actually do look at the zoning and start saying, where's 2 acre, where's 5 acre, what's changing? That's where you actually affect people's values. And
Yes.
that's when it gets ugly. But before that, the comp plan is,
Okay.
you'll get disagreeing people, but I don't see it as being too ugly. So long as the person that's managing it is a good facilitator and a good communicator and is inclusive.
And I have great hopes for our new planner. He has a great background and he's worked on comp plans before.
Yep.
And he's worked on tough situations. So I'm thankful that we were able to secure him for us. I think it's going to be a great relationship. So we're getting kind of deep in the planning section. Are there other things that you might see that 2024 that you'd like to accomplish or see that's on our plate that we need to accomplish outside of the planning? What else is out there that is on your radar?
I think we need to make decisions with regards to solid waste, with regards to code compliance.
Okay.
We need to get that figured out in the first 3 months, I would like.
And I know the short-term rental is pending. I would like to have a sit-down time with the prosecutor. I'll have to talk to him about it. I have some ideas for short-term rental that might make it easier, and we might be able to get through that document and finally be done with short-term rental conversation, but I need to have that conversation with legal counsel first. But I have been thinking about it. And we finished up our water issue, the potable water issue. We finished that last year. That's done and gone.
Oh, the policy
Mhm.
for truck.
Correct. I'm looking for things that might still be on our plate that we want to,
Has anybody heard? Has anybody used it?
I don't know.
Has anybody talked with staff? I'll do that.
Would that go through health department?
It'd go through environmental health.
Okay.
I'll check with staff to see if anybody's, have you heard anything? Commissioner Christopher?
Anything that staff can think of that we had pending that we haven't been cleaning off our plate? And then new ideas moving forward to some things we'd like to accomplish. Is there anything that you want that's new that you'd like to put on the table that we could work on it in 2024, Mr. Christopher, going forward?
Not that I'm ready to discuss at this time.
I didn't say money. But
One thing that's still on the plate, I believe, but please correct me if I'm wrong, is the coroner.
okay,
Yes. Thank you.
So that needs to be resolved as of January 1.
this year or next
Five.
year. So we have a little bit of
So-
time. It's okay.
So we'll have to build that into the 2025 budget for
Okay.
whatever that may be, but yeah, that's still right there on the plate.
Okay. So we have two ways we can approach that. We can hire or we can contract out.
That's a good discussion for the prosecuting
Okay.
attorney.
Yeah, I can't speak to that.
Okay. Well, he'll
It's
be
not
coming,
really cheap.
he'll be coming to visit. We need to put that on our list. for him.
Can't talk about it in executive session.
Oh, oh dear.
So. Okay,
Thank you, Jen.
yeah, no problem.
That was it?
One other thing, that's been, brought up that I've heard in the office is our workshops.
Yeah.
And whether or not do we want to Zoom, record, what do we want to do during those?
And I had been kicking this one around and I talked to staff about what kind of work that creates for them. What's the easiest? At least recorded would be my druther. But I am hearing from departments, multiple departments, they would actually like to have it Zoomed. Because then that keeps them up to date on what we're working on. They can work in their offices and still hear what we're talking about and decisions we make. So is that something we need to make a motion and take a vote on what we'd like to do? And then open up for discussion?
I mean, we're just having discussion
Okay.
now, so.
Okay. Is that something if we decide to do it though, that we have to have a motion on? That's what I was asking.
No, we
It's
don't. It's
just
just,
policy.
it's direction to
Okay.
staff, but I think we'd need to talk to the IT department about, available on the website. Cause I know, how much are we paying and do we still have that much room if we're gonna almost double up the amount of space we need?
Right, I have to see if Zoom, if what I have to do for Zoom, is that doubles.
Use.
So maybe the right answer is direct staff to look into it. For transparency, this had come up with, the discussion, I'd had with, our finance manager about, all the discussions that we're gonna have this year about the budget and streamlining and everything and making sure that anybody who wants to be a part of that discussion can be a part of that. Do you want to talk?
So, as we've transitioned with doing workshops slightly different, than what's happened in the prior years where everybody came in and presented their memo that they already had given to the board. I feel like the directors and the other elected officials would appreciate just being able to have access, not necessarily being in the room, because to try and be in the room for the entire length of potentially 2 months worth of workshops, it takes them away from their other priorities that they have, but to be able to hear how the board and the direction that the board is going financially, would make them feel better, be more involved, and if a question did come up, they have the ability to answer that. We have the technology, and like you said, they could sit at their office desk and still like be tuned in and still be able to do their job.
I can see how it'd be an asset for budget talks for sure. Compared to how we used to do them in the room with them.
Well, yeah, and everybody, and just like I had told everybody this last year, they're more than welcome to come in here. I encourage that. It's just, it's a long day. And it takes them away from the other duties that they actually have to do to hear everybody go through, other departments and, but there's learning in that and hearing what the board sees and views as important, where their priorities lie. And I believe that every director and elected, it would be good for them to know that and be able to hear that. As well as our future and ongoing financial constraints.
Mhm. Yeah, it's good to be able to keep up to speed for sure.
Yeah. I think being more open
Mhm.
going forward with that is, I mean,
I was just gonna ask, how does Commissioner Christopher feel about this? This is one of those things that I'd want it to be unanimous to make a change.
Mhm.
I'm fine with recording Tuesday meetings. I think they should be Zoom and I think they should be recorded,
Tuesday or Thursday?
or Thursday. That keeps me from having to do it, so it's easier for me.
How do you feel, Commissioner Zeller?
Oh, I agree.
Okay.
And you know, at first I had thought recorded, but after hearing how it could be utilized by the departments and the electeds, I agree. If we can afford the Zoom and the girls have the work time, I think the Zoom makes the most sense. And I do see on other counties when I was surfing over the weekend that they do have them available.
Some counties.
All the ones I went to did.
Did you look at Skamania?
No, I did not.
I was gonna say few actually have the Zoom and available.
Yeah.
Yeah. We are the exception to the rule on that front.
I mean, there were some that did for a long time and now they've stopped.
Well, they did because COVID was mandatory.
Right. But when it's mandatory, then they stop.
When it stopped last summer, they stopped with it.
I don't have anything else for the board.
Mr. Christopher? anything? So that was a very busy day. Got a lot done.
Having nothing else before the board, I would make a motion to adjourn the meeting.
Second,
Motion and a second. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? Hearing none, motion passes. There is no update or there's no workshop for this Thursday, so we will see you next Tuesday.